Denver Sports presents the Mile High Hockey Podcast with Mike Evans, presented by Fort Comfort Gutters. Now here's your host with the latest on the Burgundy and Blue, Mike Evans.
Hey everybody, welcome in as we roll through another week of hockey podcast here, Mile High Hockey Podcast. This one coming to you right after, the morning after the Avalanche played the New York Rangers in what I think was a fantastic hockey game. And if this is indeed a potential Stanley Cup Finals preview, sign me up, because these two teams put on a good show. They put on a good show earlier in the year in New York, did so again last night. And it's one of those things, I know that anytime the Avalanche, lose or don't come away with 2 points, there's a feeling of, okay, was there something wrong? Is there something that we need to take from this loss and be worried about? I thought they played really well. I thought they played a really, really good hockey game. And if you can tell me and you can sign me up for these kind of performances throughout the course of the playoffs, I'll do it. Because what they showed in this game against the Rangers, big picture for me, was you had a team that came out in the first part of the game and really was forced to play the Rangers style. It was classic Eastern Conference style hockey. It was tight. It was defensive-oriented, tight checking, tight defense, not a lot of shots on goal, not a lot of scoring opportunities. It was, 6-6 shots on goal after the first period. At one point, midway through the game, it was basically like 14-12. So it was a style in which there is probably a perception, myth, that if you can get the Avalanche into that kind of game, they're uncomfortable. They'll crumble in the face of that kind of intensity, that kind of physical type hockey. But they seem to be fine with it. And not only did they more than hold their own playing that style, but their ability to play that style and then continue to play that style, continue to come with the intensity, add in their talent, you saw the game shift. Over the second half of that game, it was dominated by the Avalanche to the point where when it was all said and done, they had fired 42 shots on Igor Shesterkin. And it was very clear by the end of the night who the better hockey team was. And this is hockey, right? This is the beauty of hockey, is that in most sports, territorially, if you carry the play, it's reflected on the scoreboard. Not so in hockey. And I think this was a classic case of this, where the Avalanche, I think, were the better team, but at the end it was the Rangers coming away with the win. They probably got the better goaltending. Ultimately was the difference, a slight difference, but enough to give them the win. But still, that's the kind of performance that if the Avalanche are going to be able to play that way consistently throughout the course of the playoffs, they are going to be just fine. So that was the biggest takeaway from the game. Now let's get into some of the smaller, certainly not insignificant, but smaller subplots to this story. The Nathan MacKinnon streak ends. At least as we're talking right here, I suppose there's a potential for an appeal to the league and an assist could be added. I doubt that's going to happen. I don't even know how vigorously the Avalanche are going to pursue this, but more on that in a second. How about the play itself? Okay, it certainly looked like McKinnon had sent the puck over to Devon Toews, who sent the puck through to the net, and Mikko Rantenen was able to collect in the scrum and score the goal. Easy, right? McKinnon gets the second assist. The streak continues. But then you saw the way that it was adjudicated, and we learned a lot, didn't we, about possession versus deflections and own goals and all of that. And basically what it came down to, and I'll give Andrew Rycroft credit on the broadcast, working between the glass, between the two benches, he said he was on it pretty much right away that if it is deemed to be an own goal, then it goes to the last offensive player to touch the puck, and then that's it. It's unassisted, and that was Devon Toews. I think what we, at least the way I read it, was why this went down as that kind of a play was that the Ranger player was looking to make a play with the puck on his blade, and the puck ended up going in. It wasn't your classic deflection where Devon Toews rips one from the point and it dings off a guy's jersey or elbow and goes into the net. That's your classic deflection, and Toews gets the goal and McKinnon gets the assist and the streak goes on. But it was clear that we learned a lot about own goals and possession and what it means if you score an own goal and how that then goes back to who ultimately gets credit for the goal. I suppose the Avalanche could still pursue it. Jared Bednar was sort of lukewarm in his idea that they could pursue it. To me, I don't think anything's got to come out of this. I just don't think it's the hockey thing. I just don't think it's part of the culture after a game like that to do, after a loss, to come out and make a plea like this to the league to try to extend a streak. I just don't think that, I don't know. I just kind of feel like that goes against the code, right? And it just doesn't sound like something to me that Nathan MacKinnon would really be that vigorous in trying to pursue this to the last letter of the law to be able to try to get this added assist to keep the streak going. I don't think he wants to have the streak miraculously extended 2 days later after the event. So I think that's it. I think that'll do it for the streak. But what a streak, right? Because I'll be honest, I think most of you out there watching never really knew about this streak. It was something that kind of popped up, and the brilliant Avalanche PR department found this streak, and it became a thing. And it became a thing because who was on top of it? Wayne Gretzky. Now, there was an element to this streak at first I was kind of like, really? What? We're trying to find a streak that shows that this is something that we have a record like this on Tuesdays in the months that have 30 days in them, right? It was almost like, is it kind of a contrived, boy, you're trying really hard to find a streak, right? To get behind, to pump up. But then as it started to grow and you start to see the people on the list and you realize, this is Bobby Orr, this is Wayne Gretzky. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, any record, I don't care how deep you need to dig to find it, any record that has Wayne Gretzky on top of it, that's a legitimate record to me. So while I didn't know about the record, once I learned about it and once I saw who was on top and some of the names that McKinnon was chasing, then I was like, you know what? Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it. And I never felt like it was a streak that was getting in the way of anything. I never felt like it was a streak that was becoming too all-consuming for the team. I think they were genuinely enjoying it and rooting for McKinnon. It's not like the Avalanche or McKinnon were changing their game to try to extend the streak. McKinnon was out there in situations that you'd expect Nathan MacKinnon to be out there. So if Nathan MacKinnon gets a goal or a point, an assist on an empty net goal, okay, it extended the streak, but he's going to be out there in that situation, whether there's a streak or not. Same thing in overtime. It seems like McKinnon was constantly on the ice in overtime last night. Well, that's the way it works. Jared Bednar after the game talking about how McKinnon basically has a green light to hop back on over the boards and get on the ice anytime he wants to, understanding that McKinnon's not one of those selfish players. He's not going to do something reckless and stay on the ice too long to put the team in danger. And even there'll be times where Bednar will, tap him on the shoulder, go, "You ready?" And McKinnon will be like, "I need another minute," or need another 30 seconds that I'll be ready to go. So as far as trying to keep the streak going, certainly the crowd, the players were aware of it. And there was always that reaction when he would extend the streak late in the game, the way that the fans would react. Clearly you knew what was at stake and where the streak was and where it was going. So it was good. It was good. Nothing wrong with it. And McKinnon, it's just another part of what should be a Hart Trophy resume season. Some of the other things we learned about what constitutes a hand pass or deflection. So the Rangers' goal, where the puck is shot through towards the front of the net, hits the player, what looked to be maybe on the glove. We learned a lot about the idea that, at least according to the rule, or at least the way the Avalanche interpreted the rule, that if any part of the glove is hit, even if it's inadvertent, normally you would think, hey, if you make a gesture with your hand, whether it be to try to deflect the puck or guide the puck into the net, you would think that's something that is a no-no and would get turned over. But what we were hearing was that, no, all it has to do is hit the glove hand, totally inadvertent, totally not something that the player planned to do, but if it hits the hand, it's no goal. It's waved off. This goal was not waved off. The Avalanche did challenge it, and after several replays, I always thought, personally, that the puck never really hit the hand. I thought it hit a little up on the forearm a little bit, and that's why, with the combination of we've become so, I guess, adept at instant replay and the understanding that in order to overturn a call, it needs to be very obvious, right? To overturn the call on the ice, overturn the call on the field. And in this case, I just didn't think it was obvious enough to overturn. So I wasn't surprised that the goal counted, but clearly for the Avalanche, and I love, by the way, what they do with hockey with the challenge. In football, you get the challenge wrong, you lose the challenge, right? In hockey, man, you challenge, you lose the challenge, you got another 2-minute minor you gotta kill. So I kind of like that, which the fact that the Avalanche at that moment in that kind of a game decided to go with the challenge, they must have felt pretty strongly about not only the rule, but the interpretation of the rule. It didn't work out for them, but learned a lot, right? Didn't we? We learned a little bit about some of the rules of hockey and how they're handed out and how they're judged out there by the ice or by the replay officials. So it was a very unique night from that standpoint. A couple other thoughts on the game. Val Nichushkin didn't play, and man, at this point now, it's no longer a fluke. It's no longer a something that's a coincidence. It's a direct cause and effect, man. When Val Nichushkin is not out there for this team, they are just not the same team. Hurry up, Val. Get back. Get healthy. We're hearing it's a lower body injury. Nothing too serious, but this guy's crucial. I mean, he's just crucial. And I know he's not more important than Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, but the numbers say he is. The numbers say that when he's in the lineup, the Avalanche have this amazing record, and when he's not in the lineup, they're barely a 500 hockey team. Yet without McKinnon, without Makar, they're well above 500. So I don't get it, and I'm not here to tell you that Val Nichushkin is more important than McKinnon and or Makar, but what I am saying, the dude is important. That his presence in the lineup is pretty crucial. Couple other things that jumped out. Casey Mittelstadt with his goal. Boy, that wrist shot of his, that is lethal. We've seen a couple examples of it so far, and I haven't seen an Avalanche wrist shot like that, and probably because he's left-handed, since Joe Sakic. I mean, I'm free to take on other candidates for the best wrist shot since Super Joe, but man, Mittelstadt's is right there. I'm not going to put him ahead of Joe. Joe's was just otherworldly. Speaking of Sakic, have you seen the trailer for the new documentary, Saving Sakic? It looks fascinating. And, it's funny because right when I got here to Denver was right when that whole thing had gone down. It was, I got here for the season after the summer in which that offer sheet to Joe Sakic was handed out. So quick summary for those not familiar with it. During the 1997 offseason, you could offer sheets to restricted free agents, and the player could accept the offer sheet, and then the team had a certain amount of time to match that offer and keep the player. Well, in this case, Joe signed an offer sheet with the New York Rangers. Now, the numbers are going to blow you away. You want to talk about the explosion of salaries. So Joe's deal was 3 years, $21 million, which I suppose that actually when you think about it, $7 million a year then, even $7 million now is actually a pretty big number. But 3 years, $21 million. But here was the key: $15 million of it was guaranteed up front, and that was sort of the poison pill in the offer sheet that was putting the Avalanche in a tough bind because ownership at that point didn't have that kind of cash on hand. Ascent Entertainment, the then owners of the team. And so the Avalanche were really worried about their ability to match the offer for Joe Sakic. Now think about this. This is 1997. The Avs have one cup, haven't got their second cup yet. What happens if the Avalanche aren't able to match the offer and Joe Sakic goes off to become a New York Ranger? I don't think it's a leap to say you don't win that second Stanley Cup. You probably don't have Joe Sakic as your front office maestro. And I mean, Joe's become a terrific front office, both as a GM and now working with and above Chris McFarland. But think about that. Think about the butterfly effect on the Avalanche if that offer sheet was not matched, and what would happen to the Avalanche. It's kind of scary to think when you think about the possibilities, the what if. But it's a great story, and this documentary, I can't wait to see it because it ties in how entertainment company that the Ascent Entertainment was affiliated with came out at that point with a new movie, Air Force One, starring Harrison Ford, and the success of that movie, Get Off My Plane, helped bring in the kind of money that allowed the Avalanche to match the offer sheet. And I want to know if this is part of it, because maybe I'm just romanticizing the story, but I could have sworn part of the lure of that story was when the Avalanche finally did match the offer to keep Sakic. Back then, you would communicate via fax machines, right? A lot of the documents got done via fax machine, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I apologize, but I'm pretty sure I'm right that as part of the Avalanche notifying the Rangers that they had matched the offer sheet for Joe Sakic, that the Rangers were not going to be able to pilfer Joe away. Legend has it that not only did they send back the offer sheet signed and all that, but there was another sheet of paper that, it had, I don't know, can I do this, Matt? You know, it basically had, can I do it? No, I can't do it. All right. Well, you get the point, okay? It had a piece of paper with this on it that was sent to the Rangers like, okay, nice try, you little fill in the blank. And that was the Avalanche way of saying, sorry, you didn't get our guy. And thank God, right? Because how would Avalanche history have been forever altered if Joe Sakic in 1997 had gone off to join the New York Rangers? It's going to be coming out in next month, this documentary. You can find the trailer online, Saving Sakic. Looks like a good one. Can't wait to see it. That'll do it for this week's editions of the Mile High Hockey Podcast, as we'll be back again next week. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Only a couple of weeks left in the regular season. Let's get on with the playoffs, but while we're waiting for the playoffs, it's fun to have games like that one against the Rangers just to kind of get whet the appetite for what playoff hockey is going to be all about. We'll see you again next week on the Mile High Hockey Podcast.